But I watched the incident the weekend, and I've seen Joel's playing and the way in which he tackles, and his own coach says that he's a very brave footballer.
Yes.
But I am very worried that because he's developed this style now, that means when he is tackled, he drops to the ground so that he can get a free kick when an arm slips up from a shoulder to round his head. And when you saw the incident the other day with Brendan Whitecross, which the decision by the tribunal was absolutely correct, but I am worried that Joel Selwood, because he plays with his head, runs the risk of actually doing himself a very serious injury at some stage. I hope it will never happen. But the style that he is developing puts his neck and his head at substantial risk. Now, in the event that he has a serious accident, it doesn't only affect Joel Selwood, who is a wonderful young player and a wonderful leader, but it will also psychologically affect the person who accidentally rendered that damage to the player. In other words, you saw Brendan Whitecross after the incident got up and patted Joel on the back and said, "Are you all right, sorry," or whatever it was. Good. Brendan was clearly concerned. But I think when I hear Mark Scott saying of Joel Selwood, the bravest player I've ever seen, I've ever coached, I worry that may not be the right message that the coach should be giving.
So you're worried about a serious injury?
I am worried about a serious injury because of his style, because of how he drops to the ground, because he goes in so head first.
But how do you stop it? I mean, it's within the rules. Is it up to his coach?
No, I think the coaches have got to be aware, just as the AFL are saying, we've got to be careful that head tackles are out, etc., etc. But if a player develops a style that uses his head as a ramming rod or uses his head to get a free kick, I mean, the neck is a very simple bit of structure. There's only a few vertebrae there. You can cause enormous damage. And I would rather, Mark Scott, rather than necessarily say, Joel is the bravest player.
Chris Scott.
Chris Scott, sorry, is the bravest player I've led. I think he actually should be considering the welfare of the player and how the player conducts himself, because
be a rare coach that didn't. I think.
And I'm not saying he doesn't deliberately worry about him. Of course he does, but I've seen Joel play, and I've seen him, and he's admitted this tactic that he has developed. I think it's very, very dangerous, and it doesn't take much for a bump to become a very, very serious injury. Now, I don't want to take the roughness out of the game, but there are some players now who, in diving for the ball, in playing the football, they're so competitive, they lead with their head, and they're developing tactics which are putting, I think, their physical safety at risk.